Hi, aloha, and welcome to the Empowered Empath podcast. My name is Jennifer Neill.
And I'm Michelle Schneider. As a friendly reminder, if you like today's content, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't done that already.
Yes. Let's address the elephant in the room, my red hair. If you just tuned into the podcast at any point in time, you're not going to know this. If you are a follower of mine, you're going to be like, what happened to Jen's hair? So my hair used to be blonde. It is now very red. It's something I used to do all the time. I used to do it several different colors. But as you get older and you're trying to manage, like gray and stuff, it depends on maintenance and all that kind of thing. But with the energy of this year, truthfully, which is some of the things that we're going to be talking about, is sort of rebranding. I really wanted to switch up my own personal energy, and I really needed a change. And so I was just like, what? Screw it. And I'm going to try something new. And it is something I used to do often. So those who know me a lot, I ran into my brother the other day and his girlfriend, and it was funny. She was like, oh my God, what happened to your hair? And she said, I would have walked right by you. And I'm like, well, my face is the same. Like, I know her pretty well.
It's very dramatic, though. It's a big change.
It is a big change. And she looked at my brother and goes, yeah, what do you think? And he goes, well, she does this a lot. Like, this is, I'm like, see, the people who've been around a while know that it's not unusual, but I did need a change. So that's the elephant in the room.
I'll say I've only known you with blonde hair. So this is
a lot of people have only known me with blonde hair. I've been blonde the longest span. But you can change your hair. That's the cool thing about energy and just being physical. That's one of the cool things is you can actually change a lot of things about your appearance without, doing, surgeries or something. So it's always just been a fun thing for me to do. It's just kind of goes along with now, like you said, now Michelle's been calling me Spicy Jen. So there's that.
It's to go along with the spicy energy that's coming up.
Right. All right, so let's talk about what's been going on first before we get into our primary subject today, which I feel like people are going to be very interested in knowing about, but also probably wondering about, is the energy moving into October. We're going to cover some energy moving in to October and November. So while this can be useful as an October energy report, in essence, a lot of this is going to be based upon the quote unquote 2 moons, which we're going to get into. But before I get into that, I wanted to show my book and remind everybody this is out now. The weird thing is there is a strip across this that says not for resale, but that's because this is my proof copy and I don't have any other copies yet. So it is available in paperback, but it's also available in hardcover. These hardcovers are super, super nice. I was very impressed with the quality of the hardcovers. I really like hardcovers. I know that people don't like to spend the money on hardcovers, but man, this one is nice. And I like the ones without jackets. So if you've been waiting for the book to release, I have book 2 coming out, I believe, December 1st. And I will probably have a journal that goes with this series as well, which me and you were talking about the other day. And that will, like I said, go along with this series, but it's going to be more of a journal. But book 2 to this will be out in December. There's some fantastic information in this. Absolutely. If you're an empath and you're wondering about how to navigate things, well, how would I say this? If you even wonder if you're an empath, this is a good book, because in my experience, in my professional experience, when you begin to wonder if you're an empath, you're basically in stage 1 or 2, somewhere around here, of an empath awakening. And that is another thing that I talk about in great detail in this book. So I will have the link below. You can find it on Amazon. You can just type in Jennifer Neill, and both of them should show up anyways.
And it's also available on Kindle as well. So if you're looking for a digital download, you can get it that as well,
Yes.
correct?
It is not on Apple Books or anything right now. It's in the KU. So if you're in that program as well, but I'm just going to be kicking out a lot of books moving forward. So I would highly suggest, if that's your vibe and you're into it and you like the things I have to say, follow me too, because I do know that a lot of people are getting the push notifications on even book 2. So already. So that's a good thing to do. That being said, let's talk about the 2 moons and talk about why that we want to talk about the 2 moons. I want to cover the next elephant in the room. Everybody arguing about, is there or is there not 2 moons? I could not believe how many people are wasting their energy talking about that aspect. Oh, there is 2 moons. Oh, there's not. Like
The
this,
technicality of it, you're
the
saying.
technicality. Yes, it's crazy to me. The definition of a moon, let's just clear this up, is something that orbits the Earth in, its atmosphere. It orbits, and there are many things that can fall in that. There can be satellites, there can be all types of things that can fall in what is quote unquote a moon by NASA. That being said, this would be what NASA is actually calling a mini moon. And that is due to the size, but it's also due to the nature of it not being a man made object as well. So we have what is called an asteroid. And this is, I think, where some of the debates get into, but they're so ridiculous that I won't even read them. It's an asteroid that is also orbiting the moon. And from our understanding, what NASA and everybody believes is going to happen is entered, or the 29th, it will exit around November 25th.
About 2
In
months.
a couple months. Why? I don't really think that should be the topic of conversation. I think it should more be, what effect is this going to have on the energy of all things? This is why you would want to know about this subject, because when it starts to affect the energy of all things, and by it, I mean any astrological event or anything of that nature, it usually impacts your life, whether you want it to or not. You just might be at the grocery store going, wow, how did that just happen? So there's reasons, if you're empathic or if you're sensitive to energy, which means you're also an empath, that you would want to know about these things. So it's basically an energy report, but it's sort of revolving specifically around some events that are happening currently. You also did a card poll on it.
I did.
I want to go over that because I think that it was very accurate. But I want to talk about the aspects of some of the things that I'm noticing and that I can see unraveling or happening as this 2 moon situation is going on. It is going to affect people, their emotional bodies. It's going to affect certain types of energetic events. And I think that that's important. So the first thing that you're going to notice is there, prior to this and right at the cusp of it, a lot of things are going to happen opposite of what you're used to happening. So I thought that was very interesting. In fact, I started walking around my house going, did the dimensions just flip upside down and I'm literally living in opposite land at this point in time? Because where we have some consistent behaviors, they're going to turn possibly chaotic. Where we have chaotic behaviors, they're going to turn possibly consistent. Like, things are swapping around. I went from blonde to red. I mean, maybe that's the urge. I don't know. But no, that's just a joke. There's going to be a lot of opposite type effects where you're used to something being one way, and then all of a sudden now we have to adjust to a 180 to that situation, that personality, that emotion. There's this opposite effect that's happening. With that opposite effect, there are a couple things involved in that. There's chaos and there's positivity. So there's a lot of duality happening with this dual moon situation. that is affecting the energy and people and the astrological energy. It's not just about two being there, it affects all things. Just like when people say there's a full moon, everybody's crazy. Well, now we have two components that are affecting all of those things. So there's a duality, chaos and positivity. And it's very confusing because now first we're having like 180 opposite things happen in some regards in our lives. Then we have the chaos factor, and then we have the positivity factor. So it's like, are we supposed to be super excited because this feels really chaotic and I'm not really sure? You know, it may not all pertain to one situation, but it can. It could be that you're feeling chaotic energy in aspects of your life. In other aspects of your life, there's positive events happening or things that are starting to unfold that feel very positive in nature. They can be separate events. But the confusing part comes when you start to experience it at the same time with the same person or the same event. Both are happening. Now is the time to also, October is really, really, really going to be the time to define goals for the future, making focus and heading that way. Now, the tone to this is simplifying. So I don't know if you can hear the birds. The birds have been so loud lately.
They're agreeing with you.
They are agreeing. The key to this is simplifying your goals. Do not overcomplicate them. Simplicity is going to ride along the positivity part of the duality. If we're not careful and we make our goals complex, you're going to ride along the chaos coattails. So it's very important for you to pay attention to not overcomplicating things at this point in time, because there are two waves you can be riding at any moment in time over the next 2 months. You can ride on the coattails of chaos. You can ride on the coattails of positivity. And if you ride on the coattails of chaos, just keep your opportunistic mind open to slide on over to positivity, because they are crisscrossing each other as well. So that being said, this is the time, again, I've talked about this over and over again, or we have, rebranding who you are, rebranding your identity, becoming who you truly want to be in life. This is the time where all things are taking a different shape. So I would like to give you the word of shapeshifter in this instance, because I think it can help people to realize you are going to have to shapeshift your energy somewhat into what you would like your future to hold. It's opportunity to shapeshift. It's not like, let's chameleon ourselves into something else. This is an absolute fantastic opportunity to mold yourself into who you've always wanted to be, to allow your life to unravel and encompass all the things that you would want to see. Do not, I would suggest, not bringing baggage over from who you were and bringing it into the new aspect of where we're headed and where you're going. I would highly suggest not trying to keep your shape-shifting form from prior to future, because now we're just going to be repeating the same pattern and we're not grasping the opportunity of abundance and the universe and energy helping us to create new things in our life without a lower frequency, without the weight of traumatic experiences that happened, without the memories or failures or things that you're hard on yourself about being left behind. If you resist taking kind of the reins on where it is you'd like to be and what you'd like to see for yourself and rebranding your life, in essence, if you resist that, you're going to just repeat a lot of the patterns that don't feel comfortable, didn't feel comfortable for you in the first place. and you're missing an opportunity to let some bad frequencies go. You would want to think of it like cutting the cords of lower frequencies in this lifetime. We have the opportunity to release low vibrational energy from a lot of instances that have gone on in the past. And that is simply done by grasping onto this new frequency, taking this opportunity to utilize that frequency and define ourselves in a new way. One key factor to that is going to be seeing yourself differently and allowing that to be primarily who you are, and not defining yourself by situations, thoughts, changes, even failures that you've had in the past, because people tend to be so hard on themselves that they will define their current self by things that happened to them 10 years ago, or choices that they made 10 years ago, or, well, now I'm in this situation. Now's the opportunity to really get rid of that and let it go and take on this new identity with the help of all this astrological energy that is going to be amplified. And that astrological energy, when it amplifies, will allow you the opportunity to also very much tune in to who you are on a soul level and bring those aspects to the surface, where we have more balance when it comes to our 3D self and our spiritual self. So it allows us to merge the two in a better, more cohesive balance. That's the opportunity here. Do you have questions on any of those things that I just said? Was I clear?
I think you were clear, but as you're talking, it makes me laugh, and you probably like see me smiling and nodding throughout. Where I'm like, I pulled those cards. Like I feel like when we get to the point where we talk about the cards that I pulled, I was like, there's so many of the same messages that I was getting.
Right. So why don't we go ahead and talk about your cards?
Okay. So I'm going to, if I look down, I logged it in your app. So nice little plug for your app. It's called the Empowered Empath app, right? It's available in Apple. And
the iTunes store, whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the Apple, wherever you get the apps. That's where it's
the App
available.
Store for Apple. that one.
I am having issues with Google though. So unfortunately, Android users, I'm trying my best, but they're making it difficult. So go ahead.
Yeah, but I did log it in the app so I could remember this, because I pulled these cards a couple of days ago and I didn't want to forget. So with the messages that I got, and I'll go through, I'll also tell you the tarot cards that I pulled, because I pulled from 2 different decks and then I did some oracle cards. So the first 2 oracle cards that I pulled was uncertainty and focus. And like right off the bat, I was like, well, that seems so weird because they seem so opposite of each other. And it's just like, which is what you were saying, like we could have these like moments of like chaos where we're not really sure what's going to happen next.
Absolutely.
It's going to feel very unsteady. But then with the focus card, it's really calling you, the overall message to me was like a big call to action, to be like, you need to focus on what's really important in your life, and to not spread yourself too thin, to not try and do a million things. Don't make everybody happy. Really look inside yourself, and what is it that you love? What is it that you're being called to? Because that's what you need to focus on. If you're trying to focus on a million different things, none of them are going to be successful. You're just going to be in this uncertainty and chaos.
Right.
And so, as it was going on, so the first set of tarot cards that I pulled was the World, the Hanged Man, and the Two of Cups. And I thought that this was really just going to be like it's obviously a global energy thing. Like this is a huge, because I pulled the World card twice, and it was like, this is sort of an end of a cycle. Like this is a new beginning.
Yeah.
And that there can be a lot of positivity and a new start for people. And it was really all about gaining a new perspective, thinking, man, like new perspective, like let's look at everything in a different light.
Right.
So I just think it was like, things are going to turn out positive if you really pour your focus into it and what your higher self wants. So with the second set of cards, I pulled the world again, the Ace of Wands, which was really hinting at sort of like a new start, fresh beginning, a
Mhm.
lot of passion, creativity, and then the Strength card. I think we probably all are going to need to have a lot of strength to get through potentially what's coming.
Yes. Well, it's not to scare people though, because that scares the bejesus out of people when you say that. And truthfully, I think that psychics and spiritual teachers use that aspect sometimes to make everything like a oh my gosh, what's going to happen. I see this more as opportunity. I see this more as gathering your strength to do something different, because I'm going to tell you, I see a lot of clients. My clientele is a heavy workload, and resistance to change is the number one thing that I see most people struggling with, hands down. If I could wave a magic wand and help resolve things for people in a way that I feel like it would globally help others, it would be the excuses and the resistance to change. Not that a lot of my clients make excuses, because I work through that with them real quick. That being said, I think it's natural human nature to say to yourself and or to others, well, I can't do that because of this. I can't do that because I'm in this job. I can't do that because I have to work these hours, or I can't because I have the children. There's always 18 ways to Sunday that you can explain why you're holding a stance of resistance and or you're resisting change. That anybody can do with their eyes closed. I mean, we could come up with that all day long, unless you're a child, because if you were to ask a child, well, what do you think so and so can do this? They'd be like, well, yeah. It's so interesting to me, the children's perspective, especially because I have these 7-year-old grandsons that'll be like, well, why can't you? Well, why can't you do this? Well, how about you just do this? Their perspective is entirely different. You have to explain 18 different ways to Sunday why you can't do all their suggestions. So it's crazy how we are born with the why can't I? Why can't you? How about we just try this? That's the way we are born into this world. That is the energy and the frequency that they're in tune with. So a resistance energy makes zero sense to children. They don't deal with that. If they start feeling resistance, they move away from it. It's a very natural component to who they are. As you get older, then fear starts to come into play, worry and concern, and or feeling comfortable in your place. I feel that sometimes people in life lose the drive at certain points of their life to make shifts and changes and follow their dreams or redefine where they're at, because it can be exhausting mentally. We have more moving parts when we're an adult. We have more responsibilities, and we have to put more effort into making life changes when we are adults. So I get it, but now's not the time to have the resistance going for you. Now's the time to just go, you know what? I'm going to see what's out there. I'm just going to try something different. My big suggestion would be following dreams at this point in time, trying to do things that you normally wouldn't do, things that you want to check off your bucket list that you've been putting off, anything of that nature. I've always wanted to. What is that for you? I've always thought about doing. What is that for you? I would like to someday. Again, what is that? Now's the time to go, well, today's the day. This is the month. This is the year, to at least make a plan to navigate that direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people just teeter-totter around the timing being right. Well, the timing's right. So we'll just throw that out there. The timing is right, and it's right now. Like, it's right soon. Doesn't mean you have to go do your thing today. It just means allow it to become part of your radar and allow it to become part of your plan and goal setting. I also do not believe that it has to be done by November 25th, when the second, the mini moon is supposed to exit
Well, let's talk
orbiting the
about
Earth.
this.
Yeah.
So at the time we're filming it, so on October 2nd, there's going to be a solar eclipse. They say eclipse energy can last to 6 months. Do you see this solar eclipse energy? And we just had a lunar eclipse as well. Like, does this also fuel into the same energy? Like, could we be seeing this type of same energy for, the next 6 months? Or do you think that this energy that we're talking about is specific to the mini moons?
The topic is a combination of both. What I think is going to happen with the solar eclipse, and just to be clear before I get into that part, as the different astrological events happen in combination, it will create a different recipe. That's how you should look at it.
Okay.
So when it creates a different recipe, the outcome of combining the ingredients together is going to produce this. And then as we move forward and the mini moon goes away and we still have the solar eclipse, then we're going to have a different recipe that's going to produce this. With the solar eclipse, there's still going to be intensity. Okay. The solar eclipse is going to bring intensity within the emotional body. So with that, you may find that if people have situations where, I guess I would say that they're volatile situations, or that they could be upset about something, they're going to possibly be really upset about it. You know what I mean? But also on the flip side of the coin, if they have some positivity going on, they're going to be like really excited as well. So the solar eclipse is going to be intensifying any of the astrological events occurring during the time that we're having the solar eclipse. So as we move through the year, there's going to be other astrological events that it will intensify. So towards the end of the year, which we'll revisit this, November, December, we typically have an astrological cycle of things starting to slow down. So that might feel like things are really slowing down. We'll have to see as the months unfold on what that energy is potentially going to bring. But I do feel like calm kind of happening around November, December. And then we're going to have a real large spike in energy starting January and February. So we will want to watch, or like that's when, we might see businesses kind of explode, and by explode, I mean, in good manner.
Okay. I was going to say, we need some clarification on that.
No, like you might start seeing a lot of traction with goals that you've put in place. That's where I was kind of going to the business thing. So it feels like the treadmill is turned up several notches January to February.
Okay.
So you've turned up the treadmill, and we might have the amplification of the solar eclipse as well at that time. So we also were talking about a comet, right? That was
So there is actually a comet that is going to be present in the sky that is supposed to be like very bright. I think you would be able to see this with the naked eye, where as opposed to where the mini moon, you I guess you need a special telescope to see it, because I don't think it's very large. But with the comet in the sky during the eclipse, I know that it was somewhat of a rarer event.
Yeah, and those types of things are usually attached to some of the things we were talking about earlier, which was events that can potentially happen that are kind of world-changing events. There's going to be a lot of world-changing events going on towards the end of this year. And again, if it matches the energy, which they typically do, we're going to see a lot of opposite things happen. So, but with a duality, with the positivity and the chaotic feeling of change and how that duality is going to happen.
I think I have
So,
questions on this, and this could be a whole different podcast, so you just tell me.
okay.
Um, I have heard a lot about, like, timeline jumping, and so with, like, the uncertainty and the chaos, like, is that I mean, I feel like we haven't really talked about, like, timeline jumping, too much. Like, is that sort of, like, based on I don't know if that's, like, the free will of people's decisions of, like, what's happening, like, where you could be
Give me your definition. I always have to ask people this because when people ask me questions, they all have different definitions of what they're talking about. What is your definition of timeline jumping?
Okay, so basically thinking about like parallel lives of like,
Mhm.
certain decisions of like if
Different
this
dimensions.
happens
Mhm.
versus this happens. The
Mhm.
easiest thing here would be like I don't even want to talk politics, but election wise, right? If one candidate won over the other,
Mhm.
like the realities of that scenario
Mhm.
of like jumping from one timeline to the other.
So basically, what your question is are we jumping a timeline with this duality?
Yeah, like is there back and forth? Like are we shifting a lot? Is it pretty set in stone? Like what are we thinking?
Well, I would say two things. This is a set situation. We're supposed to be experiencing this duality at this point in time. So there's that aspect. In reference to what you're saying, people have an opportunity to have different dimensional outcomes regardless. And maybe we absolutely should do a whole podcast on this because it gets confusing.
Yeah.
Everybody tends to be under the impression that within the Akashic records there is just one scenario that's happened, that your life is kind of planned out for you or shown or done or whatever, minute to minute, second by second. Within the Akashic records there's layers of dimensional realities. People do not talk about this. They do not really understand it very well, but that's where free will comes in. And I just talked to somebody about this the other day. It gets confusing for people. And if you really use your common sense, this should make sense to you. If everything was already specifically very laid out on a timeline as far as anything goes, or even Akashic records, your life is entirely planned out for you. Why would you have free will? It makes no sense. You can't have a story that is set in stone and then have free will. There's no reason to have it. When you have Akashic records and different dimensional timelines and probabilities, that allows free will to take place. So Akashic records they're layered with many different dimensional probabilities. Okay. Those are what are recorded in the Akashic records. You can move along those different scenarios. That's where your free will comes into play. So it would be as if, and I know I've talked about this before, imagine your life similar to one of those storybooks. I cannot remember what they're called, but they're the ones that if you get to page
You could choose your
here,
journey.
you get to choose your journey. So then you go to 13 or 27, and then you get to choose from there. That's how people should really kind of envision their Akashic records and their life. In essence, they do get to choose. However, you can't go backwards to the page you were and then re-choose 13 if you chose 27. That's not how it works. There's too many things that happen in between there, but you have this continuous ability and opportunity to shift your dimensional timeline. In essence, you always have this opportunity to do that. You just need to be proactive in making a different choice and therefore ultimately changing your reality. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I know how complex of a topic that is. I just don't think we've really talked about all
No,
of
we
that
haven't
before.
talked about that. And there's a lot of things that I do want to cover. So those will be coming. Let's just leave those on pause for a minute. And so if you want to hear those conversations, definitely like and subscribe so that you can get those, because I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot to talk about that's in this book as well. So I want to cover some things Some things like I was talking to a colleague this morning. Um, what type of empath are you? That kind of stuff that's in here that you're going to be like, this is a totally different subject. You went a whole different direction than I thought you were going to go, because there's way more information in that than people realize. And what type of empath are you? That's a huge pet peeve of mine, because I specialize in empath energy and training empaths and just energy in general. I'm just like, you're not like, this is not the full thing. This is just such a simplified definition and labeling that we all know I don't like labels. Labels do nobody any good. So I really want to address some topics like that.
Yeah.
So we'll be having those come up. But we did feel like, I felt like we felt like it was good to do an update on the energy and what's happening with this, especially because I'm seeing it everywhere. It's affecting a lot of things. And I'm sure that people are going to be going, what in the world is happening right now? And how long do I have to be prepared? And what do I do? What's my survival kit look like? You know?
Yeah.
So your survival kit should entail a rebranding, looking for opportunity, staying focused on the positive, goal setting, and taking advantage of new energy, releasing old baggage, releasing the old self, releasing your old identity, and creating, I always tell people, creating a new avatar of who you are, creating a new you. That should be in your survival kit. Then, if you have anybody with a chaotic energy, just steer clear of that a little bit. Just like be like, I'll be over here, you do you, and I'll just be chilling in the corner. There's that. And then if people are starting to do the opposite of what you're used to, I would just do what I do and be like, this is new. Okay, gonna see what happens here. But hopefully that's a good thing, because those people will be also, whether they realize it or not, when they start doing a 180, they are actually feeling this energy, and they're feeling prompted to do something different with their life. And they're taking advantage of that. Hopefully, most of it's for the positive. Mostly, I'm seeing it, people making those changes for the positive. If you see that they shake it up and go the wrong direction, then, like I said, stand back, just watch and see.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Yeah, make sure you like today's video if you enjoyed the content. And if you have any questions, we're always happy to answer. So you can leave those in the comments below, and then subscribe if you haven't already.
All right. Have the most amazing day. Aloha. Bye.
Bye.